Imagine waking up in the dead of night, right, to the sound of a 300-man Black Ops team just tearing through an invincible army's camp.
Oh, man.
Yeah, and there is no modern technology here, no night vision, just absolute chaos. You've got clashing bronze and an enemy that strikes from the shadows and then just vanishes before you can even organize a defense.
It's terrifying to even think about.
Right. And this isn't a scene from some modern action thriller. It's actually an excerpt from an ancient text that details this daring hostage rescue. And it's preceded by a massive global rebellion and followed by a masterclass in high-stakes diplomacy.
Yeah, it really is a masterclass.
So welcome to today's deep dive. We are extracting the tactical and political strategies hidden within this incredible narrative, because underneath all the ancient geography, it's a remarkably relatable study in alliance, strategy, and leverage.
It really is. And, the tendency with ancient source material is to view it as static history, just like dates, events, borders, that sort of thing.
Yeah, it's lines on a map.
Exactly. But when you examine the underlying mechanics of the decisions being made in this specific text, it immediately drops you into a highly volatile power struggle.
Right.
We are looking at a situation where the geopolitical machinery of the ancient world is just put to the ultimate test. It explores how rulers manage subjugation, the horrific logistics of ancient warfare, and, well, the psychological weight of victory and defeat.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because to understand the deeply personal rescue mission that happens later, we first have to examine the global conflict that triggers the whole thing.
Right, you need the context.
Exactly. So the text outlines this massive geopolitical imbalance. You have a formidable coalition of 4 Eastern kings, basically the superpowers of their day, led by a king named Chedorlaomer.
A huge powerhouse.
Yeah. And on the other side, you have a rebellious alliance of 5 much smaller but very wealthy city-states located near the Dead Sea, and this includes Sodom and Gomorrah.
Right.
So for 12 years, these 5 smaller kings served the Eastern Coalition. They were vassals, but in the 13th year, they rebelled.
And we need to pause on what it actually means to be a vassal for 12 years in the ancient Near East. Because this isn't just, a signed treaty where you occasionally wave a flag of loyalty.
It's not just symbolic.
No, not at all. This is a severe recurring economic drain. I mean, it means a significant portion of your agricultural yield, your livestock, your gold, your prime resources, they are packed into caravans and shipped east every single year.
Wow, so just a constant bleed of wealth.
Exactly. For over a decade, the 5 kings of the Dead Sea region just watched their local wealth evaporate to fund a foreign empire. The resentment would be woven into the fabric of their daily lives.
Yeah, you'd feel that everywhere.
So by the 13th year, whether it was due to, say, a drought that made the tribute impossible to pay, or simply just reaching a breaking point of humiliation, they cut off the supply line.
And when you cut off the supply line to an ancient superpower, I mean, the response isn't a sternly worded diplomatic letter.
Definitely not.
It's annihilation. So in the 14th year, Chedorlaomer and his 3 allied kings mobilize. But here's the fascinating strategic move, right? They don't march straight to Sodom and Gomorrah to put down the rebellion.
Right, they take a massive detour.
Yeah. Instead, they sweep through the surrounding regions, they systematically crush the Rephaims, the Zuzims, the Emmons, the Horites, and then they turn back to hit the Amalekites and the Amorites.
It's just a total steamroller.
It's exactly like a steamroller. They spend months destroying smaller nations that have literally nothing to do with the primary rebellion. So my question is, why expend all that energy and resources before even fighting your main enemy?
Well, what's fascinating here is it's a brilliant, albeit brutal, exercise in military logistics and psychological warfare. Chedorlaomer is essentially clearing the chessboard.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, because if you are marching a massive army into hostile territory to lay siege to 5 wealthy cities, your greatest vulnerability is your flank and your supply line.
So you have to protect your rear.
Exactly. By systematically dismantling the surrounding tribes, the Rephaim, the Zuzims, all the others, the Eastern Coalition is eliminating any potential allies that the 5 rebellious kings might call upon for reinforcement.
They are essentially isolating the target.
Precisely. You don't just attack the castle, you burn the surrounding fields so no one can come to the castle's aid.
Wow.
And furthermore, the psychological impact of this sweeping campaign is just massive. By the time Chedorlaomer's forces finally turn their attention to the 5 kings in the Dead Sea region, their reputation is utterly terrifying.
Oh, I bet.
They aren't just an invading army anymore. They're an undefeated force of nature that has just flattened half the known world. So they arrive at the battlefield with an immense psychological advantage.
Which brings us to the actual showdown. The 5 rebellious kings finally march out to meet this coalition in the Vale of Sodom. And the text provides this very specific, almost bizarre geographical detail.
Yeah, the terrain.
Right. It notes that the Vale of Sodom was full of slime pits. And in the resulting battle, the kings of Sodom and Gomorrah flee and fall into these pits, while the survivors scatter to the mountains.
It's a chaotic scene.
But wait, an entire army fled into an area full of slime pits. Was this a massive tactical blunder by the 5 kings, choosing terrible terrain for their stand?
Well, it's a crucial question of terrain strategy. Those slime pits were naturally occurring seepages of bitumen.
Bitumen.
Yeah, which is a thick, sticky, asphalt-like crude oil. It's essentially nature's quicksand. It acts like flypaper for chariot wheels and heavy infantry.
Oh, that makes sense.
Right, so the 5 kings knew they were outmatched by Chedorlaomer's massive, battle-hardened army. Choosing a battlefield littered with bitumen pits wasn't an accident. It was a desperate attempt at terrain funneling.
So they wanted to use the landscape.
Exactly.
Well, yeah.
They wanted the heavily armed Eastern Coalition to charge, hit the sticky terrain, lose their momentum, and get bogged down.
It sounds like they were trying to neutralize the sheer mass of the enemy by using the environment against them.
That was likely the plan, yes. But we have to look at the mechanics of ancient troop formations to understand why it failed so disastrously.
Okay, how so?
Ancient armies relied entirely on tight, disciplined formations like phalanxes or shield walls. When 2 forces clash, momentum and nerve dictate everything.
Right, if you panic, you're done.
Exactly. And when the 5 kings' front line engaged the Eastern superpowers, their nerve broke. They panicked.
Oh, no.
But here is the fatal flaw of fighting near a hazard. When a front line panics and tries to retreat, the soldiers in the back rows don't immediately know what's happening. The back rows are still pushing forward, terrified of the enemy bearing down on them.
So they essentially push their own retreating front line directly into the tar pit.
Exactly. The very environment they hoped would trap the enemy became their own tomb due to a breakdown in command and control.
Wow, what a disaster.
It really was. Once the formation shatters, the battlefield descends into pure chaos. The leaders fall into the pits, the army routs, and the survivors flee to the higher ground of the mountains.
Leaving the cities wide open.
Yep. This total collapse leaves their cities completely undefended. The victorious Eastern Coalition sweeps into Sodom and Gomorrah, and they don't just take hostages. The text emphasizes that they take all the goods and, crucially, all their victuals, their food and provisions.
They economically strip mine the cities. They leave nothing. It's a brutal reality, right? I mean, you can't fund another rebellion if your people literally have nothing to eat.
No, you're totally crippled.
So Chedorlaomer wins an absolute comprehensive victory. He crushes the uprising, secures a massive haul of wealth, and begins the long march back east.
But he makes a mistake.
Yes, here's where it gets really interesting. In the process of looting Sodom, his forces sweep up a captive named Lot. And that single, seemingly minor logistical detail shifts this entire conflict from a macro geopolitical war over tribute into a highly dangerous, intensely personal vendetta.
Because to the Eastern Coalition, Lot is simply another asset, right? Just a number on a ledger of stolen property. They have no idea about the network of relationships they've just disturbed.
Big mistake.
Huge. Lot is the nephew of Abram, a powerful figure living in the plain of Mamre. And the text introduces a fascinating mechanism of intelligence gathering here. A survivor manages to slip away from the captive march and brings the news directly to Abram.
And Abram's response is immediate. He doesn't petition the defeated king of Sodom for help. He doesn't attempt to negotiate a ransom with Chedorlaomer. He immediately arms his trained servants.
He takes matters into his own hands.
Exactly. The text specifies he takes 318 men, quote, born in his own house, and sets off in pursuit. Let's dig into that detail. 318 men isn't an army, but that phrase, born in his own house, really stands out.
It really does, and it's the key to understanding how the subsequent tactical maneuver is even possible. The phrase born in his own house indicates that these are not mercenaries hired for gold, nor are they frightened conscripts dragged from a field.
So they're deeply connected to him.
Yes. These are men deeply bound to Abram by generational loyalty. They have likely lived together, trained together, and operated as a cohesive security unit, protecting Abram's vast pastoral assets in a very dangerous region.
Wow, so he's basically a chieftain.
Exactly. Abram is not just a wealthy herdsman, he is functioning as a powerful, independent chieftain with a highly disciplined standing militia.
Okay, so they track this massive, undefeated coalition all the way to a place called Dan. And Abram doesn't meet them on an open battlefield. He divides his forces and strikes them by night.
A night raid.
Yeah, the text says he smites them, chases them all the way past Damascus, and recovers everything. Lot, the people, and all the stolen wealth. But realistically, how does a relatively tiny household force of 318 men completely rout an undefeated coalition of 4 kings that just decimated 6 entire regions?
It is a textbook execution of asymmetric warfare, leveraging environmental and psychological factors to overcome a massive numerical disadvantage. Let's look at the mechanics of a night raid in the ancient world.
They were pretty rare, weren't they?
Exceedingly rare. Because without modern technology, visibility and communication in the dark are virtually non-existent. Command and control just vanish the moment the sun goes down.
So the darkness itself becomes a weapon if you know how to use it.
Precisely. By dividing his 318 highly cohesive men into multiple units and striking from different directions simultaneously, Abram creates a terrifying auditory illusion.
Oh, that is smart.
Imagine being a soldier in Chedorlaomer's army. You are abruptly woken in the pitch black by war cries, the clashing of weapons, and the sounds of an attack coming from 3 or 4 different sides at once. In the dark, a coordinated strike of 300 men sounds exactly like an army of 10,000.
And we have to consider the physical and mental state of that massive army too, right? I mean, they have been on a grueling military campaign for months.
They're exhausted.
Yeah, they just fought a major battle at the slime pits. They're dragging tons of looted wealth and prisoners. They're exhausted, encumbered, and fundamentally complacent.
Complacency or hubris is their fatal vulnerability. They just defeated a 5-king alliance. They believe they are invincible.
Nobody's going to attack us now?
Exactly. The absolute last thing they expect is to be pursued, let alone attacked, by a localized force. They were likely celebrating, consuming the provisions they looted from Sodom, and sleeping heavily.
So they were sitting ducks.
Pretty much. When Abram's forces hit the camp, the ensuing panic does the heavy lifting. Disoriented soldiers in the dark, unable to see who is friend or foe, are highly likely to break rank, scatter, or even turn their weapons on each other in the confusion.
Wow.
Abram's militia acts as the spark, but the massive army's own panicked chaos creates the inferno.
The tactical discipline required to pull that off, chase them past Damascus, and secure the hostages without them getting killed in the crossfire. It is staggering.
It really is an incredible feat.
So the physical battle is over. Abram has Lot, all the captives, and all the wealth of the Dead Sea region. He marches back and arrives at the Valley of Shiva, known as the King's Dale.
And here is the pivot.
Yes. The narrative pivots from military tactics to a profound study in political strategy and leverage. Abram is now holding all the cards, and he has 2 very distinct diplomatic encounters.
And these 2 encounters define the core themes of the text. First, Abram is met by Melchizedek, the king of Salem, who is also described as the priest of the Most High God.
Right.
Melchizedek brings out bread and wine and delivers a blessing. And notice, he explicitly credits the victory not to Abram's tactical genius or the strength of his 318 men, but to the deliverance of the Most High God.
And Abram accepts this. He gives Melchizedek 1/10 of all the spoils a tithe. So what does this all mean? What's the geopolitical weight of that exchange?
If we connect this to the bigger picture, it establishes the moral and structural framework for everything that follows. In the ancient world, offering bread and wine to a returning victor was a gesture of hospitality, sure, but also a formal recognition of peace and alliance.
So the very public statement.
It's extremely public. By accepting the blessing and paying 1/10 of the massive spoils, Abram is publicly submitting to a higher authority. He is definitively stating that his success is tethered to a divine framework, not to his own ambition for conquest.
Interesting.
Yeah, he isn't claiming the mantle of a new warlord. He is actively rejecting the standard geopolitical machinery of empire building.
Which sets up a razor-sharp contrast with the second encounter in the valley. The king of Sodom approaches Abram.
Right.
And remember, this is the king whose army panicked, who lost his entire city, and whose wealth Abram just recovered. The king of Sodom offers what sounds like a very pragmatic deal. He says, "Give me the persons and take the goods to thyself."
It sounds generous on the surface.
But hold on, this makes zero sense to me. The king of Sodom is completely broke. His city is ruined. Why is he acting like he's in a position to negotiate, let alone give Abram the wealth that Abram already possesses by right of conquest?
Because it is a phenomenal political bluff. The king of Sodom is attempting to reassert his shattered authority.
Ah, saving face.
Exactly. By publicly offering to let Abram keep the material wealth, he is trying to frame the interaction as a transaction between a sovereign and a contractor.
Sneaky.
Very. If Abram accepts the goods under the king's terms, the king of Sodom regains his people, his workforce, and power base, while subtly positioning Abram as someone who fought on Sodom's behalf for a payday. It's a desperate attempt to turn a humiliating rescue into a managed business deal.
But Abram sees right through the bluff. He shuts it down with a beautifully absolute refusal. He swears an oath that he will not take a single thing belonging to Sodom. Not a thread, not even a shoelace.
That a single thing?
He walks away from an unimaginable fortune. Now, from a purely pragmatic standpoint, why turn down vast wealth? I mean, Abram just single-handedly won the war. The king of Sodom is offering him a massive fortune, yet Abram famously rejects even a shoelace. Isn't that taking pride a bit too far?
You'd think so, but taking that capital would destroy his most valuable asset, his autonomy. Look at Abram's explicit reasoning. He says he refuses so that the king of Sodom can never say, "I have made Abram rich."
I see.
This is entirely about geopolitical leverage. If Abram enriches himself with the wealth of Sodom, his reputation and his rising power are forever entangled with a morally compromised, defeated local ruler.
Veto him.
Exactly. He becomes, in the eyes of the region, a benefactor of Sodom. By refusing even a shoelace, Abram maintains total, unassailable independence. He ensures no earthly king holds a debt or a claim over him.
He refuses to be a vassal. He just watched what 12 years of being beholden to a regional power did to the five kings, and he refuses to enter into that system, even from a position of absolute strength.
Precisely. He aligns his provision with the Most High God, as he established with Melchizedek, rather than the corrupt political economy of the Dead Sea kings.
But there's a vital nuance in how he handles his allies, isn't there?
Yes, there is. Abram doesn't force his own extreme principled oath onto others. The text notes that he ensures his local confederates, Aner, Eshcol, and Mamre, who marched with him, get their rightful portion of the spoils, along with what his own men have already eaten.
That is such a crucial leadership dynamic.
Yeah.
It's easy to hold yourself to an uncompromising moral absolute. It's much harder to do that while recognizing that the people who bled for you deserve their compensation.
Exactly.
If he had forced Aner, Eshcol, and Mamre to walk away empty-handed just to satisfy his own vow, he would have broken those alliances permanently. He protects his own leverage without punishing his friends.
It demonstrates an incredible clarity of purpose. Abram navigated a chaotic battlefield, executed a flawless night raid, managed the egos of local rulers, and emerged with his family safe, his alliances intact, and his independence completely uncompromised.
And bringing this right back to you, the listener, this is why dissecting these ancient narratives is so rewarding. This text isn't just a record of Bronze Age battles and ancient tar pits. It is a profound exploration of knowing your why.
Knowing your objective.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Abram didn't march to war to build an empire, and he didn't fight to acquire vast wealth. He fought out of loyalty to his family. Because his objective was crystal clear from the start, his exit strategy was equally clear.
Yeah.
When the dust settled in the Kingsdale, he knew exactly what he would accept and exactly what he must reject to protect his long-term autonomy.
That clarity of purpose allows you to walk away from a fortune to preserve your freedom. But, there is a lingering geopolitical consequence to this story that the text leaves open, something truly fascinating to consider.
Oh, yeah. What's that?
Think back to Chedorlaomer's initial sweeping campaign. He systematically dismantled the Rephaim, the Zuzims, the Emmons, the Amalekites, and the Amorites. He wiped out the military infrastructure of half the ancient Near East.
Right, he completely cleared the board to ensure his dominance.
Right. And then, in a matter of days, Abram's targeted, localized rescue mission completely wipes out Chedorlaomer's invincible coalition. So the question you have to ask yourself is, what happened to all those freshly conquered, devastated territories?
Oh, wow. Wait, the superpower is gone? And the local powers are already destroyed?
Exactly. Did Abram, by executing a highly personal rescue mission with just 318 men, inadvertently create a massive region-wide power vacuum? Did he fundamentally redraw the geopolitical map of the ancient world overnight, leaving a blank slate in his wake?
That completely scales up the impact of the event. It's a localized tactical strike that accidentally resets global politics. You start looking at an ancient text expecting a dry list of unpronounceable names, and you end up uncovering the mechanics of warfare, the psychology of leverage, and the absolute power of knowing exactly who you are and what you refuse to be bought for.